Welcome to episode 3 of the UC Davis Bookstore Tech Talk. Again, my name is John, and you've seen me in the past couple of webisodes. You've seen me in our own bookstore. We're kind of goofing off with one of our old employees. You saw me at Macworld, kind of trying to figure out what was great. And again, remember, the Sony Rolly was still an awesome device. I think you still need to get it, even though it's $399. Who says you can't party with a robot? I say you can. But this webisode, we're actually going to go over media types and media standards. One of the main things that people do when they come into our shop, they ask us the question, what do I need to back up my data? Well, data storage is actually so vast and so different that it goes across a wide genre of different media types. We have disks, such as your DVDs and CDs. You have flash drives or thumb drives, USB drives, you name it, it's been called it. And then, of course, we have our backup devices of our external hard drives, which we can back up larger amounts of storage without having to back up on a single flash drive and go back and forth. So these USB drives and FireWire drives are really great for backing up large amounts of storage. And then we also have some neat innovations like Apple's time capsule here, which works in conjunction with its time machine, which is not only a backup device, but it's also a wireless router. So it's a really good device that Apple put out for its own product line. So we'll get started here and we'll talk about the media of CDs so you can all understand what is the difference between -R and +R. Alright, coming back to media, as you can see on this side of our table, we actually have a media type that's been standard through the industry for many, many years. It's basically blank discs. Blank discs were actually the replacement for what we remember as the floppy drive. If you can remember the 5 1/4 and the 3 1/2 floppy drives, well, this media actually replaced that a little over 25 years ago. The great thing about the replacement is you get a lot more storage data on a single disk, anywhere from 700 to 800 megs on a single CD, and up to 4.5 to 9 gigs of data on a DVD. What we usually get in the bookstore, and the main question is, what's the difference between minus and plus? Well, in CD terminology, CD minus R and CD minus R, or plus R, they don't exist. Only CD minus R actually exists, and CD minus RW. What RW and R are, R is a single time recording, so if you want to save all your precious photos and nobody to mess with it, put it on CD minus R. If you're going to make a CD for your music and have your favorite music on a CD, CD minus R. CD minus RW, RW stands for rewritable. So what that means is I can take that same disk and add more data to it later on down the line. So if I need to, let's say, update bookkeeping data or something of that nature, I want to get CD RW because I can always go back and add more data. It's not an unlimited amount of backing up. There is a life expectancy, how many times it will rewrite over itself. And the disk package will usually tell you how many times it will rewrite on a disk before it becomes obsolete to rewrite over. So be forewarned to look at the disk to know exactly how many times you can rewrite. Another media type that's also good for storage is DVD, -R, and +R. Now, the difference between -R and +R is really based on manufacturing. -R is the set standard. That's been in the market for the longest time. That's what everybody had standard. Mac had used, most of the PC manufacturers had used. Then here comes Sony and Philips with their infamous, let's get into the game the way we want to play it and come up with a +R. So +R is really kind of the relatively new market type that Sony tried to work with and Philips tried to work with to kind of get a cornerstone on the recordable media for DVDs. The negative is there are still machines out there that do not understand what +R technology is. So unfortunately, if you have an older DVD player that was specifically set for a -R, you will not be able to use the +R standard. So what you want to do is make sure the media that you're getting is compatible with the hardware you have. Rule of thumb is within the last 2.5 years, most devices should take plus and -R, so you shouldn't have a problem, but anything older than that, you really need to pay attention to the manufacturer and see and look at that manual and determine that you can use a +R standard. The difference between plus R and RW and minus RW is the same thing as the CD. It's a re-recordable. Again, if you want to add more data later on, an RW is the way to rewrite over that disk. Other things about data disks on DVD is there's a thing called DL. Well, DVD plus R or minus R, DL. DL is basically called dual layering. Dual layering allows you to actually double up the capacity of storage on a single disk. So instead of what a normal DVD disc would give you, which is usually between 4.2 and 4.5 gigs, now you can get up to 9 gigs on a single disk. It's really good for, well, unfortunately for you BitTorrent hacks that like to sit there and record all your own movies. This media will be able to store the entire movie on the disk without having to sometimes do 2 disks for the same amount of information. So for media types, basically, if you're just doing music, just want to play it in your car, do some pictures and stuff that you want to store and back up, just some small amounts of data, CD minus R will be great for you. If you want to do bookkeeping and you want to recur that bookkeeping information, CD minus RW will be the better way to go. If you need to store a larger amount of data, you need to do a lot more backup. Let's say you have 4 gigs of music you want to back up, then you want to go with a DVD minus R or DVD plus R. Those 2 standards will be the better way to go for more data. Minus RW and plus RW, again, if you need to rewrite more data later on, that's the media type you will need to use. And again, if you need to add even more data on a single disk, dual layering is what you'll need. Always make sure you check out the manual and make sure you know exactly what you have on your equipment to determine whether you can use one of these standard media types. Not every machine can take dual layer disks, so be careful before you buy into the 9 gigs of data storage because your machine might not have the ability to actually write to it. Also make sure that your machine has the ability to write to DVDs. There are some players out there that are only CD-RW or CD-R and not DVD-R, which means they're usually a DVD-ROM. They'll read the disc, but they will not record to the disc. So be forewarned. The manual is the best information for you, and if you still don't understand, and let's say it's a laptop, you can bring it into the TechHub. We can actually look at it and determine whether it is a CD burner or a DVD burner and which media type you need.